You're listening to Something Cheeky, a collection of podcasts where two sisters discuss TV, books, and movies with just enough irreverence and far too many pop culture references. Welcome to Something Cheeky, the Gentleman Bastards edition, where we discuss the Lies of Locke Lamora, book 1 of the series by Scott Lynch. I'm Nikki.
I'm Rosanna.
Well, I've read the entire series. Rosanna has only read up to what we're covering today, which is chapter 13, Orchids and Assassins. In this chapter, Locke plays a game of dress-up that would give Pretty Woman a run for her money. Alright, Rosanna, what was your reaction to this chapter? It was a departure from what we've seen so far.
I have a couple of points about this chapter.
Okay.
First of all, I think that the name was very misleading. I think that using the word orchids was incorrect. There was only one orchid that we talked about, and it didn't really have that big of a part. I feel like naming the chapter Orchids and Assassins was maybe purposefully
Misleading. Misleading the way that Locke is misleading purposefully.
That's a fair point. Additionally, I was missing Jean this chapter.
Oh, yeah.
Seeing as how so many of my Gentleman Bastards have been taken away from me, I would like to have any that are left to be showing up. And I was really rooting for Locke this whole chapter, but still feeling like he is struggling somewhat. So I kind of was a little heartsick for him, because he still is... I think that he's putting on a really brave front, and he's like pushing forward, because he is still recovering from his physical pain, and then also I think he's pushing away his emotional pain. He's not dealing.
This seemed like a really nice distraction for him. You got him back in his element.
It was a good distraction for him, but I feel very motherly towards Locke, and I'm worried about him. Even though in this chapter he did show that he's still just as good as he always was.
Yeah, and the desperation may have even been helping him in this.
Yeah, that's true too.
I mean, because he would not give up. He just kept going in and trying again until he made it work.
It really is desperation. I think that's the perfect word for it.
Yeah, because this section is called Desperate Improvisation, the section of the book.
Well, I forgot about that, but that makes sense. That's perfect.
What was your favorite quote from this chapter?
The quote I chose is when Locke is talking to, is it Ben Javier?
That's how I was thinking, Ben Javier.
Locke says to Ben Javier, "Most men do nothing to deserve what the gods throw their way."
I highlighted that one too. That was...
I don't even know if that needs any explanation. Yeah. It's so where Locke is right now.
I had been on such a high this whole chapter because it was so much fun to read all the intrigue, and then that brought me right back down, and I remembered why he's doing this, and it was sad.
Yeah,
I am glad we got this chapter though, because it's been so depressing for the last several chapters, and to get something that gets us back to the fun that we've had before was really great.
You know, I think that us just saying that little bit right there made me realize why, even though I thought this was a good chapter, I didn't love it, because I saw all of these actions that Locke was doing, and he was showing us how great he is at all of these things. But for me, it's the desperation that I keep not even seeing, but remembering, that brings it down for me. Because if this was just him doing his con to make money, like he was doing with the Salvara game, it would have been even more enjoyable. But since I know what's behind it, it's hard for me to really enjoy it. Does that make sense?
Does.
Okay. It's just hard for me. It's hard for me to get way into the action when I know the emotions that are going behind it. Also, what was Jean doing this whole time?
It's a good question.
I hope he wasn't just like, eating a pint of Ben & Jerry's waiting for Locke to show up and say it worked.
He's off seeing his secret girlfriend. He needs a pick-me-up.
You know what Jean should be doing? He should be hosting an out-of-town guest by the name of Sabetha. Where is that girl?
Where is she?
Where is she? I swear, we are almost to the end of this book. And she's still not shown up.
Maybe we'll see Donna Salvara again, and she'll whip off some disguise, and it's been Sabetha this whole time. She's just been undercover.
I don't think Sabetha would give up Locke to the spider.
That's probably true. Unless it's a triple cross again or something, I don't know.
Is the second book in this series called Sabetha? Please tell me that that's the case. At At some point, will this chick
I
show
will tell you,
up?
the second book is called Red Seas Under Red Skies. Does not tell you anything.
Actually, though, Sabetha has red hair.
It's true. I'll admit that. We know that.
Maybe Red Seas or Red Skies is a reference to
Maybe
Sabetha.
she's really Ariel, and she's
Maybe
Red Sea.
Actually, Ariel, when I was... This is totally going to be one of those tangents of pop culture, but when I was a child and saw Ariel and saw The Little Mermaid for the first 50 times because I was obsessed with that movie.
I'm still mad you always made me sing the boy parts in the songs.
I don't know why that is a surprise, though, obviously. I loved that movie. I was obsessed with The Little Mermaid. First time I ever saw it in the movie theater, I was 10 years old. We went on a Girl Scout trip. It was so much fun. I got really mad at my troop leader because she called it the Littlest Mermaid. And I was like, are you serious? Can you not read? It's the Little Mermaid. Anyway, but then I got older and I became an adult and I had children. And now when I watch it, I'm like, girl, you go listen to your parents. You are 16. That doesn't mean adult. That means child. You are a child. You are a spoiled, rotten child. So now I don't want Sabetha to be like her because I think very highly of Sabetha based on nothing. But Ariel needs to go home, apologize to her dad for being a spoiled, rotten brat.
Let's say you know you're getting older when you start to sympathize with the parents in movies and in these cartoons rather than the main character.
Yes. Also, you know, what they say about men is that you know you're getting older when you see a hot girl and you think, ooh, I bet her mom is good looking. Have you ever heard that?
I haven't. I like it. This was really fun to read for me. It was nice to have a little break, even though we were reminded periodically about why he's doing it. But it started out like this comedy of errors. Locke just kept getting turned away over and over and turned into this amazing con job. It just reminds us, you know, why he's the Garista, why he's so good at this.
Well, and also where he's at mentally and emotionally right now. Any of those times, he could have just given up and said, this isn't going to work. I've done the best I can. It's just not, you know, but he never does. He just keeps pushing.
Yeah, he's quite persistent.
Yes.
Unrelenting. We get to Meraggio's Countinghouse. Locke shows up dressed as a courier or a scribe. He's trimmed his fake beard into a fake goatee now.
Yeah.
And he realizes he can't put a toe out of line or he risks getting beaten up by Meraggio's guards. Or City Watch as well. He has to be super careful. Also, kind of on the lookout for Roz's people as well. I mean, he is...
Public enemy number one.
Basically. Locke prays to the Crooked Warden at one point. At the beginning he says, Crooked Warden, he whispered, I'm going into this counting house and I'm going to come out with what I need. I'd like your aid. And if I don't get it, well, to hell with you. I'll come out with what I need anyway. I
love that he talks to the Crooked Warden like it's an actual person.
Yeah.
Like, I want you to help me, but if you don't, screw you. I'll just do it anyway.
Yeah. I feel like the Crooked Warden would appreciate this if we ever had
definitely.
Crooked Warden as a character.
Yes.
The first of Locke's many identities is Tavern Callus, which is Jean's death priest name, which is now getting used all over town because Jean used it too at the temple. And he uses it to see Coriander Previn, who apparently he had helped with the twins getting a legitimate account before. So Locke must have seen him at some point and remembered that he was, you know, of a like size. We get an idea of really the size of this counting house. It's got, 64 desks in the main room that are rented by different people, money changers, law scribes, clerks, like that. It's got a kitchen and a really fancy wine cellar. People practically live there, which made me think of Google or Wall Street with, you know, super crazy hours with these finance people. We see Previn, and while he is about the same size as Locke and has nice clothes, the colors are very gaudy.
Right.
And I was a little worried about Locke having to wear those clothes suddenly and look slightly ridiculous in front of the Salvares.
Like the Joker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We quickly learned that it's not going to happen. He offers him 5 crowns to rent his clothes, saying he's been robbed and needs them for this big important meeting. It's only about a quarter of what the clothes are actually worth, so it's really an expensive rental. I was thinking of Parks and Rec Treat Yourself with this. People rent
with the Batman costume.
That was fantastic.
You know what's weird though? Is there not any place in Camor that you could actually rent clothes? Wouldn't that have been a lot easier?
That's a really good question.
You know, like a costume shop?
Yeah.
It just seems like this seems like a really difficult way to get clothes.
It does, but he is on a really short timeline, too.
That's true.
He doesn't have Rent the Runway.
That's true. Is there not like layaway? Like a, not layaway, but like a, get something on credit?
Just go to the Kmart down the road.
Or like a pawn shop. I wonder if people ever pawned expensive clothes.
Interesting.
I guess, though, since I don't live there and Locke does, he probably would already have thought of that. If it was an actual possibility.
Well, a lot of the, clothes of the level that he's looking for are going to be tailored and not off-the-rack kind of items.
But also, why didn't he just steal them?
Well, that's one thing. Locke gave the name of a fake company trying to convince Previn to go along with his story, and Previn did not believe him and called the guards. At that point, I was thinking Locke was going to leave and wait for Previn, and he and Jean were going to mug him and take his clothes anyhow.
So Locke knows a lot of stuff. He knows, obviously, how to get in and out of places. Why didn't he just go to Previn's house when he knew he was at work and steal from his closet?
Well, he probably doesn't know where he lives. There's no phone book.
But he knows where people live. He could have followed somebody. I don't know. It just seems like this was really, and this is not the first time I've said this about Locke's plans, more complicated than it needed to be.
Locke was never really a Windows kind of guy, though. And I really don't think Jean is. He was a streets person.
Right.
So I'm not sure how comfortable he'd be doing that. Plus, it's during the day, and this is dinner tonight. He doesn't have time to wait.
Yeah, that's true, too.
To climb in somebody's house in the dark and do this. Also, he'd have to go to a lot of different places in hope that he would find something that actually fit him.
I guess he just decided to go with what he already knew he was good at, which was talking.
Yeah. He would have to find clothes and find a tailor to do his stuff immediately if he was gonna steal something from somebody. Yeah. So that doesn't work out. Locke leaves, goes to a tailor, gets a new outfit.
You say that Locke leaves like he decided he was gonna leave.
Oh.
He got told he was gonna leave.
He was escorted out from the Countinghouse. He's gone from a beard, he's now trimmed it down to a goatee, and then he trims it to a mustache. So he basically can't go anywhere else but maybe a soul patch, I guess, is the next step.
Clean shaven, I suppose.
Yeah, he's run through most of what he can do with this fake facial hair. Mm-hmm. Also, I was thinking it's a really good thing that Lucas Fairwhite doesn't have specific facial hair Locke has to do because he doesn't have access to it anymore.
Right, he would have had to come up with something. He would have had to go steal somebody's beard.
Glue it to his face. Jean, just cut some of your hair off and let me glue it on.
Maybe he could have bought somebody's hair. People sold hair.
Yeah.
I guess.
Oh, man. He goes back to the bank, to Meraggio's, in this new costume, and at this point he asks for any available law scribe. He uses the name Galdo for his disguise, and I was just, punch in the gut for that. Says, "My name is Galdo Averlane," said Locke. "I'm from Talisham," which is, he uses these lines over and over again. Every time he meets somebody new. "I'm from Talisham." I just kept thinking of the John Mulaney, "I'm new in town." just has to remind people he's from Talisham.
Right.
He gets a law scribe that's about the right size. He finds one and goes to him and offers him 5 crowns. And the guy says he doesn't charge that much for his services. This is what Locke says. "Your services," said Locke, "your professional services, that is, are not what I'll be requiring." Which, if you just heard that out of context, I would think he was asking for, like, the prostitute or something.
Definitely, yeah.
And it continues with this sort of feeling throughout this, but it really sounds like he's propositioning this guy for sex for a lot of money. Mm-hmm. The clerk seems really excited about the money at first, which made me think that Locke probably could have offered him a lot less than 5 crowns.
I thought that too, that he was throwing a big chunk of money around the whole time.
And the clerk starts making fun of him, and we realize he thinks it's a test for Meraggio.
Right.
And he is not going to do it. And then Locke, again, has failed this, sees Meraggio himself across the room with the orchid that he wears as a trademark. Mm-hmm. Notices they're of a like size for the 3rd time he's seen this. And for me, it seemed like, in my head, the movie of this in my head was like the slow motion movie scene where 2 people lock eyes and fall in love, only it's Locke in this outfit.
Right.
So he puts eyes on his stars in his eyes, and birds flying around his head, and everything's wonderful.
Orchids flying around his head.
Yeah, Locke really does seem better with rich people anyhow than the riffraff of the city.
Definitely.
Yeah, it seems like the more elaborate and wild his story, the more likely it is that he's going to pull it off. The plan starts to unfold. Locke bribes a guard so he can get into the kitchens to talk to some off-duty waiters. He's spending this money faster and faster. You know, he's spent some on tailors, now bribes, and he's still offering this 5 white iron coins to people. He finds another person approximately his size. This is the 4th person he's found. Is half of Camor basically Locke's size? I mean, these people are everywhere.
Must be. This never would have worked if it was Jean trying to find clothes.
Yeah, I agree. And even this guy who makes even less than the previous guy, he offers 5 crowns to.
I thought that was weird too, because the guy, I mean, it was kind of like somebody showed up and said, I'll give you $1,000 to borrow your clothes.
Yeah, my Kmart clothes.
Wouldn't that seem suspicious to you?
Were you starting to get suspicious at this point?
I was worried that Locke's desperation was making him appear desperate, which I think makes you more suspicious. So I was worried that people... Of course, this waiter, Ben Javier, doesn't seem like the brightest bulb. So maybe he was a good mark for Locke to pick. Locke to pick. I can't stop with this guy.
It said his eyes did a credible imitation of attempting to jump out of their sockets when Locke gave him the first iron coin. At this point, Locke gets him in the alley and he claims he works for the Duke. And he has a message for Meraggio, but he needs to not look like himself in the Countinghouse, since he's already been 2 different people in the Countinghouse at this point. They go to an inn. Again, sounds like he's propositioning him for sex, where they can change clothes.
It really sounded like it there.
Especially when Locke leaves him, he's a dude lounging with basically no clothes on in bed with a bag of money.
Right.
It's, leave it on the dresser. Good.
It was like Indecent Proposal. He's rolling around in coins.
Locke gets back to the bank. Isn't recognized, thank goodness. He gets 2 guards to go back and get the waiter. He convinces them to do this. Says he failed a test like Willa. It's a freaking genius.
Yes.
Because he remembered the story from before about the test.
I mean, he doesn't dismiss any information that he gets. He just stores all of it in a bag and pulls it out as needed.
Yeah, he is very resourceful.
Very quick.
I always think of the doctor from Royal Pains. Have you seen that show?
No.
He's this concierge doctor for very rich people in the Hamptons.
He's a concierge doctor?
Yeah, he basically works only for rich people. He's on call for all these super rich people.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, like the 1%. But his kind of trademark on the show is that he's very resourceful. He always is like getting random things from around the yard when emergencies happen and he has to fix something, like, get me that pipe and this belt. And
so what you're saying is he's Dr. MacGyver.
It's Dr. MacGyver.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. The first couple seasons aren't bad, then it just gets really stupid, but yeah.
Well, I can't imagine how that could have ever gone badly.
Gotten old.
Yeah.
Locke starts to use some of his Midnighters swagger to pull off this really confident con. Not only has he gotten his money back, because he got back to the inn and got all the money back from the waiter, now he has 2 guards working for him for free.
Yep.
And he also appears to have enough authority to detain a man, clear a room, and order people around. And have somebody watch the alley door also.
Yeah.
I have it all caps in my notes. Locke is a beautiful genius.
And the thing, too, is, though, it's all very precarious power. Yeah. It could be undone with just a slight, I don't know, with anybody just calling him out on any of it. It could be undone, but he is so confident that it doesn't even occur to them that he might be lying.
Guess that's why I call it a confidence game.
I suppose.
He gets Ben Javier to promise he'll confess with no excuses, which is just prepping him to keep Locke safe later when he accuses him of whatever he wants.
And I was actually kind of mad at Locke during this point, because this poor waiter is just trying to be a waiter and he's getting sucked into all this stuff. So I felt a lot better that even though Locke completely disrupted his life, he made it so he could move on instead of, like, literally being murdered. Because I thought he was going to get killed.
Right. Yeah. The story at this point was just getting better and better and more exciting for me with every paragraph as I read it. It was really fun just to see just the wheels turning in Locke's head, and he was working so quickly. It was amazing. And Locke is still just waving around his blank parchment, pretending he's got actual business going on.
It reminds me of, you don't watch Doctor Who, right?
No.
Okay, so the Doctor has this... Oh, I wish I could remember what it was called. He has this you know those billfold sort of things that the FBI has? They pull out and open it up. It's called psychic paper. The doctor has psychic paper, so he opens it up, and when people look at it, they see whatever he needs them to see to get him into places.
Okay.
That is what I'm imagining this paper is. It's just blank.
I love it. Locke goes and finds Meraggio. I was really happy that while nobody else seems to notice Locke doesn't work there, Meraggio knows immediately.
Yeah, I don't like it when they're showing us a character that's very smart and they're moving through, these things that they need to do, and it's just by their own wits, but that everybody else is an idiot? That's not accurate. I mean, that's not reasonable. So when you get to somebody that calls them out and they still have a way around it, you get even more respect for that character's brilliance.
That's the perfect word for Locke. Brilliant.
Because Meraggio is like, wait a second, this is not right. So we're showing that Meraggio has half a brain compared to apparently everybody on his staff who has no brain. But Locke still gets in and still tricks him. So that shows you he's not just smarter than stupid people. He's smarter than smart people.
Locke now claims to be a messenger from Caparozza.
And he doesn't give him a name, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
Because he loves making up names.
Really does. So at this point, we're 5 identities in this chapter. We've got Tavern Callus, Galdo, the agent of the Duke, an agent of Meraggio, and now an agent of Caparozza. It's crazy. This is Inception, really. It's just one after the other. And 3 of them are connected to each other, all the agents. 2 were actually completely separate. But man, he now indicates that poor waiter Ben Javier he's involved in a plot on Meraggio's life.
Yeah.
And apparently, supposedly, the Caparozza doesn't want the Meraggio killed because it'd get the spider and the City Watch all up in Raza's business, which could mess up his new position. Locke gets Meraggio to go down and talk to Ben Javier, who immediately confesses and says it's true without saying what it actually is. It's like a romantic comedy misunderstanding.
Yes, it is.
Trope. All it takes is for one person to finish a sentence. Yep. That's all you need. Meraggio falls for it. Granted, it's pretty convincing. Locke gets him to take Locke upstairs away from everybody so he can go take his clothes because he is of a like size. Locke says he can dress as Meraggio, pretend to be him since the assassin only knows about the orchid, really. And at this point, I have to remind myself that this is a story Locke just came up with and it's not what's actually happening because I'm so involved in his plot.
He really commits to this.
Yeah, for a second I was like, oh, Locke might be in danger from the crossbow. And I'm like,
yeah, there is no crossbow.
There's no assassin. This is just Locke's bullshit.
Completely made up.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Locke also claims that Caparozza has several more men on the floor, and they can take down the assassin. And he's like, oh no, please don't be upset that we have more people out there. So now, he's not just a fake person with a fake assassin, he also has a fake entourage somewhere on the floor. Yep. He's inventing not just himself, but additional people.
He's inventing people.
Locke gets dressed. Steals a little bit of Meraggio's money from the closet. I would be surprised if he just, started stuffing random pieces of clothes as a disguise in his pockets.
He should.
To use later.
Yes, he definitely should. Mm-hmm.
Just layer myself in some extra silk underneath this shirt and be fine.
Could I be wearing any more clothes?
Oh, Joey. Listeners, if you don't know what that's from, there's a scene in the show Friends where Joey is mad at Chandler and he puts on all of his clothes, all of them, and admits he's not wearing underwear and starts doing lunges in them. But it's...
Yep, it's the best.
He's making fun of Chandler and says in Chandler's voice, could I be wearing more clothes? It's great. I'll post the gif up there.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
That show's classic.
It is. Locke dismisses the guards that are guarding Ben Javier. He says, the guards look at one another and nodded. Locke's presumed authority over them now seemed to be so cemented that he supposed he could have strolled back here in ladies' small clothes and gotten the same response. Sure. He unties Ben Javier and gives him more than half of his money, which I'm still surprised it's so much, because this time he's actually letting him keep it. And he tells him to get dressed back at the inn and then just run for the hills, because he's going to be in serious danger. But that they don't have time to... he doesn't have time to stick around because they're going to catch on pretty soon. Mm-hmm. So Locke is still working on a timeline. And then he just strolls out of the Countinghouse with his super fancy clothes and his orchid to go find some black alchemists who can get his hair back to the color of Lucas's hair and prepare to have dinner with Salvara's. I thought this chapter was so exciting. It was so much fun.
Yeah, it was very fast-paced. I can imagine the scene as in a movie, you know?
Yeah, and it was a pretty long chapter compared to what we've had before.
It really was, yeah.
Because of that, there's also no interlude after this chapter. So this is the only episode this week instead of 2 every week like we usually do. But next week, we get to read chapter 14 called 3 Invitations, and the following interlude called The Daughters of Camor. What are your predictions? Do you think it's going to be literal invitations this time?
3 invitations. Yes. So titling the chapter 3 Invitations, my mind immediately goes to something like some sort of a trick where you see somebody writing out 3 invitations and they go to different people and they are setting something up. Like it's all the same invitation, or they're all from the same fake person. Sort of an orchestrating kind of action.
Like the recent Simpsons episode where Moe invited Homer and Marge separately to a room so he could get them to talk to each other again. Like that.
I've never seen that episode, but yes, kind of like that. But I feel like maybe the invitations will all be from the spider. Maybe not say they're from the spider, but generated from that area. Mm-hmm. I think a plan or a trap is being set up, and I think that's what the invitations probably have to do with.
Okay, ready for the interlude?
Yeah, give me that one again. The Daughters of Camor?
The Daughters of Camor. All I think of when I hear this is, like, debutantes. Like in, the Daughters of the American Revolution kind of thing with, like, the Gilmore Girls and all that.
Or like, what do they call them on Vampire Diaries? Mystic Falls? Miss Mystic Falls?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is in everything. It's also in the Heart of Dixie.
Yeah, it is.
All the grown women are the debutantes.
Something about the South, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Daughters of Camor, since this is an interlude, we're going to assume it's in the past. I'm hoping that it's referring to the Bologna sisters, and...
I had forgotten about that nickname.
Yes, we've established I can't remember. Borgonese?
Berengius.
The Berengius sisters, twins, just maybe triplets. I'm hoping that maybe this is going to refer to them and we're going to get some history. Maybe we'll start to learn about why there's this big, God words. This big, what? It's the...
I don't know what you're trying to say.
You know how they're mad at Barsavi and they killed him?
Uh-huh. Big plot?
Like beef, but I don't want to use the word beef.
Because they are Bologna sisters.
That is not beef. Why they were mad at him. What in their history set off...
What event precipitated this?
What event, yes. Why were the Bologna sisters so mad at Barsavi that they were willing to murder him and his family and anybody else that got in between them? Because we don't know a lot of women characters. And it's the daughters, plural.
Right.
So
you don't think it's like Sabetha in some debutante ball, her coming out party?
I mean, it could be. Here's the thing, though. Every time I think or wish it's Sabetha, it's not. So I'm just done hoping. So, I don't know, though. You're really pushing the debutante aspect. So maybe it does have to do with a ball with a bunch of young girls of Camor coming out and being presented to society.
It's just because I really want young Locke to be in drag in a giant dress.
I would still be totally on board with Locke dressing in drag. For sure.
I'm waiting. It has to happen eventually, right?
I feel like probably, yeah.
You ready for your top 3, Rosanna? What is it?
So my top 3 is really brief this week, even though it was such a long chapter. It's the top 3 times that Locke was the Locke-iest. And mainly it's just that I'm referencing the 3 of the characters that he played in this chapter. The first one, Tavern Callus, a.k.a. Gene Tannen, a.k.a. Initiate / Priest / whatever else he's used this name for. That's what started Locke, and it didn't work out at all, but he tried. The second character he played, Galdo Averlane. Is that how you said it? Yeah.
I think so.
Which, of course, I love that he used the name Galdo, because... we love Galdo when we miss him.
Also, Galdo would totally proposition somebody for sex, I'm sure, so it really fit with his character.
I think that's probably a true statement. And even though this character didn't work out how he wanted it to, it still gave him enough information to move on to the final character, the Man of Kappa Raza, which he didn't get a name. But
the international man of mystery.
Exactly. The spy guy. He pushed the plan all the way through to get to where he needed to be getting the clothes, really. The whole entire chapter was just him trying to get some clothes. Yeah. That was the entire plan. I need nice clothes that fit.
Can you imagine if every time you went out for an outfit, some random waiter dude had to leave town because of it? Got someone banished.
That poor guy.
Because I need a dress.
I did feel bad that he had to leave, but he left with enough money to not have to work for a year.
Right.
And he didn't get killed.
Also, he was probably better off than if he had eventually been under one of Meraggio's tests, and he would have failed.
But listen, this is what it made me think of. This is ridiculous. My whole life is Harry Potter. Okay. Do you remember I'm sure you do. Do you remember in the Deathly Hallows when the Golden Trio do all of this stuff to get into the Ministry of Magic because they're trying to get the locket? And they all take Polyjuice Potion so they can look like other characters. And the person that Ron turns into, they think they're 17 years old. They're not as worldly, maybe, as other people. Mm-hmm. It doesn't even occur to them that the person that Ron is pretending to be is married. He has a wife who's going on trial that day for her blood status, and they're just like, no, you're fine. Don't do whatever it is. So I'm thinking this poor waiter, Ben Javier, he's leaving town, which is fine because he's not going to get killed. But what if he had a wife?
Yeah.
And he just leaves town, and she could be on trial for blood status. I don't know. We don't know. So I was a little concerned about Ben Javier.
Yeah. He's got to take his kids out of daycare.
Yeah, I'm going to assume that since that part didn't come up, he was probably just a single guy and he was happy to leave town with his year's salary. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
All right, it's time for predictions. What's going to happen next? He's about to have dinner with the Salvaras, and we know that Donna Salvara knows what's going on.
I think that probably the dinner, it might be weird and awkward, but I don't think that they're going to try to trap him because the plan is already for the spider to trap him.
Oh, wait. Does Donna Salvara know what's going on? She actually left. I'm not sure if the spider actually told her.
Well, she knows... Okay, when you said she knows what's going on, I thought you meant she knows that he's not who he seems to be.
Ah, yeah.
So I guess, though, maybe she might call him out. I think that since she went to Vorcenza, she believes that... Well, except she doesn't know Vorcenza's the spider. So I think that she probably believes that the message is going to get to the spider and that there'll be some sort of action. So I don't know that she's willing to, at this point, at this dinner, to call him out.
Okay.
So I think it might be an awkward dinner, maybe. Locke might be able to sort of spin something up to where the Donna starts second-guessing even herself. Mm-hmm. Because he's so good at that. Yeah. That's not really a prediction because I don't really know. My prediction is that Locke's going to go to dinner.
Okay.
And hilarity will ensue. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I do hope that Vorcenza shows back up in the next chapter or soon because I like her. I like her character a lot. I also predict that we have not seen the last of Caparozza.
Okay.
I'm not sure what sort of interaction we're going to have because he believes that Locke is dead.
Right.
But I still wonder if the Falconer thinks that.
I was just editing the episode where Locke was at the floating grave, mm-hmm. and he saw the Falconer, and he thinks the Falconer saw him, but he wasn't sure. Mm-hmm. And you were convinced the Falconer really did see him.
I'm pretty sure that is true. Okay. But I don't think that the Falconer told Raza that Locke is alive.
Okay.
And I don't really have any good reason to say that. I don't have anything to back that up, just that it's a feeling.
Okay.
I just based on the very little information we've gotten about the Falconer, I don't think he told Raza. I think if he was going to tell Raza, he would have told him right then and there. And since he didn't, I don't think he has. Yeah. But I don't know why. Right, I feel like my predictions as the book is going on have gotten more and more vague and just worse. I'm so sure of myself before I get any information. And then I get some and I'm like, oh, That's not right.
This changes everything.
Yes. As usual, more questions than answers.
Yeah.
Is the next interlude about the Baloney sisters?
I don't know.
Just tell me.
Is it?
Just tell me if it is or not.
I'm not going to tell you.
I'm going to read it soon anyway. Just tell me if it is or not.
No.
No, it's not?
I'm not telling you. I will never spoil you.
It won't be
I will tell you one thing about the next chapter.
Okay.
We meet a lot of people, or we see a lot of people, and we see some people together we've never seen together. So, technically, that's a spoiler. However, it is the most vague spoiler I can give you. Enough to just make you just drive you
I don't
mad.
even think you can use the word spoiler when you give me that information.
It's enough to make you angry, because it could mean so much.
Or it could mean
nothing.
nothing. We're very cinematic, aren't we?
Based on what I just told you, who do you think is going to meet that we haven't seen together before?
I'm pretty sure it's going to be Locke and Vorcenza.
Okay.
I think...
All right.
I would be very supportive of an introduction.
Do you think it would be Locke and Vorcenza or Locke and the Spider? Who would she be in this situation?
Or Lucas and the Spider, or Lucas and Vorcenza.
Inception, so deep.
I think these two people are going to meet. I don't know who they're going to be pretending to be. How's that?
And it seems like only one of them might know who everyone actually is that's there.
That's true too.
Any predictions about the plague ship?
I forgot about the ship.
Yeah, we haven't really learned anything else with Raza about it. So they saw the money getting loaded on.
I got nothing. I still do not believe that there's a plague. I still think that some or all of that money is the Gentleman Bastard's money.
Okay.
I'm mad at the Great King / Caparazzi for stealing it. I want to punch him in his stupid face. Yeah, that's about it.
Well, and it seems like you could, because he's only protected from blades and bolts.
I want to punch him in his stupid triplet face.
I'm not sure you could beat the Baloney twins, though.
That's a fair point. They'd have to be incapacitated first.
Yeah, with their thimble collections and their knitting needles.
That's right. Oh, I'd be scared of them with knitting needles.
Now it's time for Cheek of the Week, where we talk about something awesome that we want to share with each other and with you. My Cheek of the Week is an event that I just had yesterday called Halfsgiving. It is an event I have every year at my house. My husband and I have been holding it. This was our 8th annual Halfsgiving. It's halfway between Thanksgiving last year and Thanksgiving this year, about halfway-ish. We have a big kind of traditional Thanksgiving food, big potluck. We have turkey and mashed potatoes and gravy and stuffing and green bean casserole and pie, and it's super tasty, but we have a whole bunch of people over. And the rule is no family is allowed, though sometimes when Rosanna can come, she's allowed, but you're it. Nobody else that's related to me is allowed.
I'm only allowed to come as a family member if I promise to help do dishes.
That's true. And chop onions, and yeah, it's great. But yeah, it's super fun. Every year, my husband Ed does a whiskey toast, and it's lovely. It's a really nice toast, and it's really nice to get everybody together and have this big... It feels really like a family event, even though we're not actually related.
It also really does feel like it's Thanksgiving.
It does, yeah. There are a ton of people shoved into my living room on folding chairs and random chairs that don't match with weird tables connected so there are enough for everybody. It's generally a whole bunch of people. We had, I think, 16 people this year, but one year we had over 30. That was too many.
We love you, but please don't come back next year.
Yeah, we had to trim the guest list after that. But it's been really neat because some people are there every year. We have probably about half the guest list has been showing up most years since it started, and the rest of the list has kind of evolved over time. But it's just been a really fun event, and I think everyone should have a Halfsgiving because it is fantastic and so much fun. What's your cheek, Rosanna?
My cheek this week probably could be my cheek every week for the rest of the year. Because I went and saw Wonder Woman. It was the most amazing movie in the history of time. Second only to Princess Bride. Wonder Woman is an amazing movie. It was so good, so much fun, so entertaining. My husband loved it, my kids loved it, we all loved it. Everybody should see it at least 2 times. And then you should buy it when it comes out on DVD. And everybody should dress like characters for Halloween this year. And pretty much you should just put a little bit of Wonder Woman in your everyday life. Everybody should watch it.
Well, I always want to go see and at least somehow spend money on really strongly female-fronted movies like this. Even if the movie isn't something I super duper want to see, just so they keep making movies like this, because we really need them.
And I am on board with women-directed films and films with women as the lead character. But for me, this movie, even though it had all those things, it just was a great movie. When I was watching it, I wasn't thinking, wow, I'm so glad that this movie was directed by a woman. Wow, I'm so glad that this movie has a woman lead. It just was an amazing movie. I didn't even have to think about that other stuff.
And it broke a record by quite a bit, I believe, for the highest grossing, just in the first week, female-directed film.
Well, and I hope, too, that other people that are making movies look at this and say, maybe we do have enough of an audience, maybe 50% of the population, to make movies for, not even just for women. My husband loved this movie. He thought it was amazing. We all thought it was amazing.
Something that's not a romantic comedy. Give me something real.
And several years ago, everybody was talking about why isn't there a Black Widow movie? Which there should have been, and there still could be, with Scarlett Johansson. That, I think, would be an amazing movie, and I think everybody would be interested in it. Because it shows, you have this main character that's a woman, but the stuff that she does in the movie is not women-specific. She's just a really great character. And you can do that with Black Widow, and you could make a Poison Ivy movie, and you could do this with a lot of these women superheroes that would stand next to Captain America and Iron Man and all of these and be fine on their own. I hope that is a trend that we'll see.
And so I'm really excited because I haven't yet seen Wonder Woman, and I'm dying to. But our very first episode on Something Cheeky About Movies is going to be about Wonder Woman.
Yay!
We've done the first part of my predictions based on the movie synopsis and the trailer, but I don't know any spoilers yet, so now I'm going to go see it, and then we'll finish the episode like we do the rest of our shows. And so that'll be coming out quite soon.
And it'll be different than the way we do most of our shows, because I will be the one that's running the show, because I've already seen it. And Nikki will be the one making stupid predictions that everyone gets to make fun over. Yay!
I love making stupid predictions. It's great.
Alright, listeners, you can visit our website to find all of our Cheeks of the Week. You can learn about our other podcast, send us questions and feedback, and support the show through our Amazon affiliate link at somethingcheekypodcast.com/Amazon.
That's our episode. Please leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts. And follow us on Twitter at SomeCheek and Facebook.com/SomeCheek. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Digga da 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 da.